Hello, and a big warm welcome to you, and welcome to this Facebook Live all about sound sleep and aware parenting. Now, I'll just wait a few moments to see if anyone's going to join in live. Meanwhile, you can see my dog in the background, and my kid's dad is going to be coming in. There'll be a little bit of things going on in the background there. So just to let you know beforehand, you may be watching the recording. If so, I hope you enjoy it. And what else did I want to say? Oh, look, I was doing my son's hair and I wondered where the blue hairband went. There's the answer. Do you ever do that? Raquel, welcome. So come along if you have any questions. What I'd love to do first of all is I'd love to share about sleep from an aware parenting perspective, and then I'm sure there's going to be time at the end to ask questions. But as we're going along, if there are things that I'm talking about and you'd like to ask, please let me know. You can also probably hear bird noise too, so also let me know how the sound is. So I don't know if you're familiar with aware parenting at all, so let me know if you are or you're not. But what aware parenting is an approach that was devised by Aletha Salter, Ph.D., and she's written several books on it. And I'm a level 2 aware parenting instructor, been an aware parenting instructor since my daughter was 3, and she's now 15 and a half, so 12 years. And I'm really... My pleasure. I'm really passionate about aware parenting for so many reasons. I'm so grateful for it in my own life. I'm so grateful that I've met people all over the world with it, and I just love what a difference it can make for us as families. Now, where am I? I need to really look. I always find it hard because I want to look at the box to see and read your words, but to make it look like I'm looking at you, I need to look over there. I know, but Michelle, welcome. So glad that you're here. So yeah, please come and let me know if you have any questions. And apologies for the background noises. So aware parenting has a really different perspective on sleep compared to pretty much all other parenting approaches, apart from hand-in-hand parenting or parenting by connection. Those two are really quite similar, but those two are quite different from pretty much every other parenting approach as far as sleep goes. Hi, Marion and Doggy, that's Feather. Thank you. And from an aware parenting perspective, many of the ideas are really different from ideas about sleep that you'll see in other approaches. Now, if you know any of my work already, you know I'm really passionate about us listening to ourselves as parents. I think there's so much information out there, and for me, I think the only way you can really make decisions about parenting is really listening into yourself. So what I invite you to do as you listen to this, as you watch this, is to see what resonates with you. If something resonates in your heart and also in your mind, and you kind of go, oh yeah, that makes sense, or that fits with me, or that's really, I have a yes with that, then I invite you to go with it. Please, I'd say for my work, for anyone's work, you come across it, I think it's so important to trust yourself and your own resonance, and just listen into what resonates for you. And if things don't resonate, then just leave them to one side. Feather, gorgeous name. Thank you. Yeah, he's got a little feather down his here. That's why he's called Feather. So I don't know if you want to share anything, Michelle and Raquel. Do you have anything you want to share before we start? Is there any particular reason that you joined in so that I can maybe address some of the things that you're dealing with, or perhaps as we're going along you could come in and share? But if you want to let me know if you have children, how old they are, things like that. And I think there's someone else here, I'm not sure who it is, but come and introduce yourself if you'd like to. So what are some of the things that you will often hear for sleep with children and babies and sleep that are different to aware parenting? So some of the things you might often hear are things like she's fighting sleep, or that babies and children don't want to sleep, that they need to learn how to sleep, they need to be taught how to sleep, they resist sleep. Jen, welcome. So glad you're here. So there's lots of those kinds of things around regarding sleep. And from an aware parenting perspective, it's a different way of looking at sleep. So I'm going to be sharing how, from the aware parenting perspective, it's seen as that it's not that they don't want to sleep, it's not they're resisting sleep, it's not that they're fighting sleep. We're going to be looking at it from a very different perspective. I do also want to share that if you are not getting the sleep that you really need, and your little one or little ones aren't getting as much sleep as you'd like them to have, I send you so much love and compassion. It can be so hard if you're not getting the sleep that your body needs. So also sending lots of love to you. So the next thing I'd like to say, talking about sleep, if you think about the wider perspective, does it make sense that babies and children do these things, fight sleep or resist sleep or need to be taught to sleep, those kinds of things? If you think about human beings and kind of a bigger context of us, does it make sense that those things are the case? Michelle, I love your work and approach. Oh, yay, thank you. So that's why I tuned in. I have 2 sons, one is 1 and the other is 3. I'll sleep, I want more. Oh, yay. So you're already familiar with this approach. So what I find, and I hope you'll find useful, and please ask questions, especially if you're already familiar with this, is, if you want nuances or you want more information, please ask. But I also find for myself, just coming back to the kind of basics and the underpinnings is also really helpful. However long we've been doing it, however much we know about it, is really remembering, oh yes, it's really, yes, that's how it is. Yes. So yes, if we think about it from this wider perspective, sleep is one of the most vital physiological needs, isn't it? Apart from clearly breathing's the most important, then I'd say which ones, food and water, obviously very important, but pretty much after that, shelter and connection, very important. But physiologically, sleep would be next on the list, wasn't it? So, and as you probably know, in certain cultures, sleep depriving people of sleep is one form of torture, which maybe you felt at times as well, that there's a sense of, this is torture. So it's curious to think of why would that be, that if you think about babies, for example, and I'm sure you know so much about birth and breastfeeding, things like that, the finely tuned interaction between mother and baby, like in the whole birthing process, how they now know, isn't it, that babies set off a chemical that starts off the whole birthing process. Same with breastfeeding. A baby, if you breastfed the baby, the type of sucking really affects the amount and type of milk. This fine-tuned dance that happens between babies and mothers, and babies and dads as well, in many, many ways. And it doesn't really make sense, does it? With these fine-tuned kind of interactions are happening, why is this? What's going on with sleep? Why does it seem to be that it doesn't seem to be flowing like this? It doesn't really make sense, does it? That's for the survival of our species, that sleep, that babies and children would fight something, that they need something so much, and that they need to be taught to do that. So Raquel, we co-select. I'm interested in hearing a different perspective, always open to learning and growing and seeing what I have to learn. I love that, Raquel. I just think it's I just love the courage, I think, with parenting to go, well, I've done this, but I'm going to be open, see if there's other things there. I think it can be an amazing thing to do that. So for you. So yes, if sleep is a really natural thing and it's a really important physiological thing that we really, really need, why is it the case that so many babies and children do seem to take a long time to go to sleep? They do seem to wake up maybe quite frequently in the night. Why do they sometimes wake up really early in the morning? Why does it seem that they're not actually sleeping for as long as their bodies need? Why would that be? If sleep is a physiological need, why would it be that babies and children and adults are sometimes or often not actually getting those needs met in the ways that is going to be most helpful for their well-being? Why is that the case? Jen, I'm also familiar and love your work. I have a 7-month-old girl and we co-sleep also. Oh, yay. I'm so glad. So lovely to get to know you all more. I'm so glad that you've shown up here, and yay. So exciting. Just love getting to know new people. So the next thing, so I've got my notes No, that way, here. So if I'm looking, I just want to make sure I'm saying everything that I want to say. So I always find it's really helpful to reflect on our own experiences just to help us see if that sheds any light on what's going on for our babies and children and toddlers. And of course, there are differences between babies and children and adults, but there are also actually way more similarities than there are differences. And I think it helps us to, you know, the more we put ourselves, listen to ourselves, the more we can put ourselves into their shoes. Callie, welcome. So glad you're here. And Jamie, welcome. And Michelle, I co-sleep too with both boys, yet do struggle with the older one, seemingly resisting sleep at night, even when he's exhausted. Yeah, yes, I really hear you. Sending you lots of love. And yeah, so hard, especially when you're probably tired by the end of the day, probably really want some sleep, and well, you might want some time when they're asleep. So yeah, really, really hearing you. Let me just check. So the ages are all kind of similar ages. I'm just going to have some water. I'm already thirsty from talking. So if we reflect, I want to invite you to reflect on your own experiences with sleep. So are there times that you've had where you're exhausted and you've had a really big day, or you just find that it takes you ages to go to sleep, or you waking up at night, or you wake up at night and you don't seem to be able to get to sleep, or you wake up really early in the morning? Have you ever been through times in your life where that's been your experience? And if so, please come and answer. What's been going on for you at those times? Did you work out? Do you know what's going on for you at those times when you're having those kinds of sleep things happening for you? Michelle, yes. So yeah, what's been going on for you? So some of the things I wrote down is when I think about it for myself. Ruth, welcome. Jen, definitely, yay. So might there be things where you're thinking about something, maybe something painful that's happened, something that you didn't enjoy, maybe some kind of interaction or experience that you had, maybe where you didn't say what you really wanted to say, or maybe someone said something to you that you didn't really enjoy, or maybe you had a really, really busy day and you felt really overwhelmed, and you kind of like really overwhelmed with the experience and you haven't really processed it yet. You haven't really released it and processed it, and you're still with it in the middle of the night. And so even though you're really tired from the busy day or the busy week, the busy month, maybe it feels like that since you've become a mum that's been really busy. And, you know, there's this sense of things kind of going round and round, or processing them, or, you know, not having yet processed them. And it's really hard to sleep, isn't it, at those times? Or perhaps you feel anxious or sad or agitated, and you may be lying in bed just longing to go to sleep, but you're just not seeming to be able to. So if you're to feel in and to remember those times, is it that you're fighting sleep, or is it that you don't like sleep? Is it that you're resisting sleep, or is it that you're so longing to go to sleep? You'd love to go to sleep. You're desperate to go to sleep. You're tired. But these things that are going on in your psyche and in your body, because our body and psyches are one, you know, our feelings and our minds and our bodies are one, and our spirits are one system. Things are going around in there, and it's really hard to sleep at those times, isn't it? Do you agree? Is that something that resonates with you? Raquel, definitely nowadays what's hard is when our 4-year-old wakes up and can't get back to sleep. Yes, hear you. Raquel, yes, it's like he hasn't processed something during the day and it's affecting his mood when he wakes up at night. Yes. So does that make sense to you? To me, what I love about aware parenting and really reflecting on things, for me, and that's why I said at the beginning, and I know lots of you weren't here, that I really ask you to just check in whenever you hear me say something. Does that resonate with me? You can usually feel it in your heart. Somewhere in your body, it's like a yes, isn't it? Or your mind might also go, yeah, that really makes sense to me. So I really invite you, this may resonate, all may resonate, none of it may resonate, or some of it may resonate. So I don't want to persuade you anything. I'd really love to offer you these ways of thinking so that you can feel into what resonates for you. So what about times where you have slept really soundly and restfully? And what kinds of things might have happened before that, in that day or that week or that month? It might be you're feeling really happy, you're feeling fulfilled, maybe you've had a lot of connection and fun that day or that weekend. You know, maybe you've been hanging out with friends and felt really connected and been talking and sharing about things that you really care about. Perhaps you've laughed a lot. Have you ever felt that sense of relief when you've been doing a lot of laughing and you just feel like, oh, I just feel so relieved. It's easy to sleep generally after that. Perhaps if you have a partner, you've had intimacy with your partner, you felt really met and connected, that had a real sense of physical intimacy and, you know, adult intimacy. I'm aware there may be children around, so you can get what I'm talking about, but you know, that can lead you to feel really deeply relaxed in your body, can't it? What about if you've shared with, maybe you have a counselor or a therapist or a friend that you're really comfortable and you share your feelings with them, and you've really had that sense that there aren't unprocessed things. You've talked about what happened. You've let it all out. There's this sense of, it's out. I've let it out. And generally you're feeling really relaxed in your body. You had that sense maybe of being on holiday. You've had a lot of time in nature, at the beach, walking the mountains. You know, so definitely, I also want to say here, I know I'm really focusing on the emotional side of things here, but of course, our emotions are our body. Our body and our emotions aren't separate. So of course there are going to be physical things that are really affecting how relaxed we feel. So that's also going to include things like how much exercise we've had, time in nature, the kinds of foods we eat, you know, the kind of bedding that we have, the kind of environment we're sleeping in. I really want to say that as a I kind of really have that as a given, that all those things are really going to be affecting sleep. And I think often we kind of address those anyway. So what I really want to say, absolutely, I include all of those, and you know, things like electromagnetic radiation, all the stuff that we know about. So absolutely, they're all going to be affecting our bodies and our state of relaxation too. So are you connecting in with those maybe memories? Can you remember feeling that relaxed and sleeping that beautifully and lying down in bed and just like, oh, I'm so happy to be going to sleep? And it's that, you know, that sense, you know, when you're drifting off to sleep because you just know it's enjoyable. It feels enjoyable, doesn't it, when you're relaxed? It's easy to go to sleep and you're just drifting off. And how lovely is that? So lovely. So if that resonates with you, and again, I really invite you to ask, does it? In what way might babies and children be similar to us? How might what we've just reflected on in terms of what makes it, you know, what's happening when we find it hard to sleep and what's happening when we find it easy to sleep, how might those transfer to babies and children? Welcome, Shelley. Welcome. Please come and share if you want to. So some things I can think of, and please come and share. So they might have also had an overwhelming day and they haven't processed their feelings around it. And remember, for, you know, the younger a child is and the more highly sensitive they are, the more things will feel overwhelming. So they can even be enjoyable. And, you know, that's the classic birthday party. You can have a wonderful, wonderful time, or, you know, big day out with friends or doing something you love. And as a child, you can still really enjoy that, but still at the end of the day feel overwhelmed. That's often, you know, at the end of birthday parties, isn't there? There's often a big cry or a big tantrum, because it's really natural for children to feel overwhelmed in those situations. I'm going to talk more about that. What else might they be finding it? So we'll talk first about when they're finding it hard to go to sleep, when they're waking up frequently, or they wake up and they find it hard to go to sleep, or they're waking up really, really early. So perhaps they also may have feelings that they haven't got to express yet. Maybe they're feeling sad or confused or anxious or agitated, and maybe that's rummaging around in their bodies like we were talking about. And again, it may not be on the surface, like it may not be for us, but it may be something that happened earlier in the day or last week, or even, you know, birth memories for babies and children that are still kind of sitting in there, still affecting their bodies, still leading to a sense of agitation and restlessness. And welcome, Catherine. Or something painful or uncomfortable might have happened for them, and again, they haven't processed it. They haven't actually got to process those experiences, so they're still swirling away in their bodies. So those are the kinds of things that can be similar for babies and children. Don't know if that makes sense. So Shelley and Catherine, I've just been talking about asking us to reflect on our own experiences of when we find it easy to go to sleep, stay asleep, and sleep for as much as we need to, and when we found those things challenging, when we found it takes a long time to go to sleep, or we've woken up a lot, or we've woken up and stayed awake in the night, or we've woken up early, and to reflect on what kinds of things might have happened in those two scenarios, and to then see whether those might be relevant for babies and children too. So I invite you to if you want to connect in with your own experiences around that, and see if you can remember what might have been going on for you at those times, and to see whether that resonates for you with your babies or children. And again, I want to say for those who've joined more recently, to please keep on just checking in with yourself. Does this resonate for me or not? So, and as I say, there may be physiological things going on too for babies, adults, children that are affecting sleep and the degree of relaxation. So always include the physical. But what about when they're sleeping soundly and restfully? What might have happened for them at those times? And again, you might want to reflect on when you've noticed that for your baby or child or toddler. Might it be when they're feeling really happy, when they've had lots of connection and fun that day? Might it be when they've laughed a lot before bed or during the day? Perhaps when they've had lots of connection, intimacy in a baby-child sense that we're reflecting on, that they feel really connected, really, really deeply connected. You know, those days where there's so much deep, deep connection that just like imbues their whole bodies, and they just like so relaxed with it. What about when they've expressed their feelings to us and we've listened lovingly and heard those feelings? And generally it's all about relaxation in the body. It's like, isn't it, when they feel really relaxed in their bodies, then, do you remember we were talking about that lovely sense of so relaxed and just drifting off into sleep? That's what it's like for them when they're really deeply relaxed in their bodies. So I'd love to hear how this is going for you so far. I know a lot of you are already familiar with this work. But I always find, for me, writing this, wrote it today, and every time I reflect on it, I think about new ways of thinking about this, or new ways of seeing it, or slightly different nuances on what might be happening. So I'm hoping, even if this is familiar for you, that it may be open to just different ideas dropping in, different ways of thinking. So, from an aware parenting perspective, we could say that there are three things that actually babies, children, adults, I would say, all need generally to sleep soundly and restfully. I actually put things to sleep, but I'm going to say, I'm going to actually change this in my notes too, and soundly. What are those three things? Do you have an idea? Can you think of them? So the first one's to feel tired. It's essential. Tired. That's what sleep is meeting the need for, isn't it? It's meeting the need for sleep when we're tired. The second is to feel connected, and the third is to feel relaxed. So tired, connected, relaxed. So I would say, from my perspective, those are the three elements of sound, restful sleep: tiredness, connection, and relaxation. Michelle, thank you, reminding me to be more compassionate with my son. Oh, I'm so glad. It's already been worthwhile for me then, because I think that's what I love about this work, isn't it? It's the more we can just keep coming back to, okay, if I was doing that, why would I be doing it? Because it's so easy, isn't it? And I really understand, Michelle, it's easy to get frustrated, especially if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not getting enough time for yourself. It can be really hard at times to really remember these essential things, that they're not doing it on purpose. They this is why I said all the pieces at the beginning. They want to sleep as much as we want them to sleep. If they're tired, they want to go to sleep. They want to do what their bodies want them to do. They want to feel that lovely, that love that we all want to feel, like that lovely relaxed state. So it's just so easy to drift off to sleep. They want to feel like that. They want to be able to get back to sleep if they wake up. They don't want to wake up when they're still in the morning really early and they're still actually tired, because, tiredness is really uncomfortable. It's not that enjoyable, is it? So I think more we remember, they're not doing it deliberately. They're not doing it because they haven't learned. They're not doing it because we haven't taught them enough. They're not doing it because they're resisting it or fighting it or any of those things. They're not doing it because of one of those three reasons, or all of them, or some combination. They're not tired. They're not connected in. They're not tired enough. Maybe we say they're not connected enough. They're not relaxed enough. That's generally why. Or there's some physical thing going on that, of course, will always apply in there too. Sean, welcome, Sean. Yes, connected. I often have to remind myself when my son is up and down at story time and not wanting to sleep, that what he really needs is to be smooched and adored and to know I love him. I love that. Yes. And so I really want to remind you just to invite yourself to connect in again. Is it true? Because what I talked about at the beginning is, that often the ideas that are in our culture around sleep, they're fighting sleep, they don't want to sleep, all of these things. And, my suggestion is to think about when they're tired, they do want to sleep, but they also need to feel connected and relaxed in order to be able to sleep. So I think that can be really helpful. And again, please just listen in to whether that resonates for you. Need another drink. But yeah, I think it'd be so helpful, especially because when we do get frustrated as well, is remembering when we get frustrated, we're often going to go, oh, I want to give less connection, and I want to just rush things. But really remembering actually that also works against the whole thing. So they actually need more connection often. So let's go through the three things: tired, connected, relaxed. So what about feeling tired? So some signs of tiredness, I'm sure you all know this inside out, but the really obvious things about when they're tired is, they'll be yawning, rubbing their eyes, maybe being a little bit less coordinated, maybe they're wanting to be a bit more snuggly, wanting to sit down or lie down more. Those are kind of clear, obvious signs, aren't they, of tiredness? And your child may have other ones too. But aware parenting, again, has a different perspective to some of the other things that we talk about in terms of tiredness. So things like being silly. I didn't used to use that word, but you know what I mean, being silly, like being goofy, doing funny things, just kind of having that kind of silly energy. They might cry. They might be being really rambunctious. They might cry over something really small. And often from other paradigms, it's seen as those are because they're tired. Sorry, I really need to have some water. I need to slow down a bit as well. I'm so excited. I'm talking really excitedly. I need to calm down. So, so many other paradigms of parenting would see there's, we need to hurry up and get them to bed because they're doing those things because they're tired, and the tiredness is what's causing those behaviors. And as soon as they go to sleep, that's the end of those behaviors. But from an aware parenting perspective, children doing those things because when they're tired, and it's babies and adults too, when we're tired, we're less able to repress our feelings. So when we're tired, feelings will bubble up much more easily. So silliness, laughter, that is a type of feeling. So when we laugh, we release feelings. You've probably been to a comedian, and jokes with comedians are often things that are quite challenging, aren't they, at times? It can be things like challenging things, or maybe when you meet a new person, you're kind of a little bit giggly and you laugh. So laughter releases things like fear, frustration, anxiety, discomfort, just kind of light fears. So when we laugh, we're actually releasing feelings. So remember what we talked about before about them kind of not having processed things. So particularly young children, they're really dealing with so many tricky things that's hard to remember. You know, they're learning, particularly as toddlers and small children, they're learning the kinds of things that their culture wants of them. They're learning what it is to be kind of living in the world amongst others. They're also learning lots of new skills, and we're pretty much more competent than them about pretty much everything. And that can bring about feelings of discomfort and agitation and like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing it, and I don't know how to quite do this, and I don't know quite how to do this. You know, they're constantly, if you think about children, they're constantly learning new things. They're constantly on the cusp of something, whether it be, you know, sitting up, crawling, walking, talking, and then it becomes other things, you know, like writing, riding a bike. Just it's constant learning. They're constantly learning, and I think we can forget how hard it can be to be at that constant cusp of learning, and how frustrating it is. You know, if you've ever learned something recently, like in some dance thing or something on the computer, it's so you probably remember how many feelings it can bring up. Children are living in that world the whole time. So laughter is a really helpful way that they release those feelings. Oh, I don't know quite what to do, or I feel uncomfortable, or I feel frustrated, I feel powerless. That's released through laughter. Hi, I never remember how to pronounce your name. Rachel. Always, that's funny. It's so tricky when I'm mostly reading people's names, and I'm saying, oh, I've forgotten how to pronounce them. So welcome though. So basically, when we're tired, feelings come out more easily. So it can be laughter, it can be silliness, rambunctiousness, because feelings come out through play, and crying. They might suddenly just cry over some little thing that you think, why are they having this big reaction? Because that's their bodies doing what they know how to do. They might suddenly cry or rage or have a tantrum. So all these things, from an aware parenting perspective, they're not symptoms of tiredness. They're more like they're more like the tiredness is basically letting their natural relaxation mechanism work. All those things, this is the paradox. Things that often we find the most challenging are often actually them trying to feel relaxed. You know, we talked about how important relaxation is. So when they're doing the silliness and the goofiness and the playing and the being a bit, you know, funny, when they're suddenly crying over nothing and having a big tantrum over nothing, they won't put the pajamas are not the ones they want, or the bowl isn't the one they want, whatever it is. They're having a big cry, and we're feeling frustrated. It's like, hurry up, you're so tired, we need to get you to sleep. It's actually all those things are their psyche, their body trying to release the feelings, release the energy, release the unprocessed things. That's them trying to process so that they can feel relaxed. So what I like to say is, often I think we think children are fighting sleep, but the way I think of it is often in our culture, myself included many times, is that we fight their natural relaxation mechanism. If we all grew up knowing how to kind of cooperate with this, and this resonated with us, you know, we wouldn't have that idea of babies and children fighting sleep. You know, it's really, that's what I love about this. It's actually really seeing babies and children have such wisdom. I love them. I love adults too. But, you know, it's so funny, isn't it, in our culture, how we think, you know, we need to do all this stuff to them, and they're being so annoying, and they're fighting sleep, and they're resisting, and we need to do all this stuff, and they're still not doing it. And what I love to do is turn it on its head, and actually to see all these things that they're doing, they're inviting us to cooperate with their natural relaxation mechanism. That's what they're asking of us, and often we don't cooperate with it, and that's what actually makes it harder for them to sleep. So I just love that, that reframe, and I think it helps us. I think that only works if you're going to be compassionate with yourself. It's no help to go from judging them to judging ourselves. That doesn't work. This is all about compassion for everyone. It's hard. It's hard to do these things. It's hard given that we didn't experience this, and we don't live in a culture that really is deeply compassionate to babies and children and deeply trusting of them. So it can be really hard. But the more we can invite in compassion for both of us, the easier this gets. So I don't know how this is all going. I'd love to hear if anyone wants to come and check in, but really seeing all those things, that's their natural relaxation mechanism. So with that, we were talking about feeling tired. We will go back to feeling relaxed. So the second piece is feeling connected. Michelle, yes, thanks. Yay. So feeling connected. So babies and children in particular really need to feel connected in order to go to sleep. That's part of what they really need. So the younger they are, the more they're going to need that connection whilst they go to sleep. They're going to need that whilst they go to sleep, which again is very different from our often mainstream culture, which is very much about trying to help babies and children go to sleep on their own as quickly as possible. And again, I don't have any judgment about what anyone else is doing or other paradigms. But again, I ask you to listen in to what resonates for you. And the idea of really babies going to sleep on their own is quite recent. I think it came around about the Industrial Revolution, really, when the whole family systems just shifted. You think about most tribal cultures, babies and children going to sleep on their own is quite a recent phenomenon in human history. Often children will also still need connection whilst they're going to sleep. And again, it really depends on not only their life experiences, but also on their degree of sensitivity. You know, highly sensitive children will need connection whilst they go to sleep for much longer. You know, there are so many different factors, but it's really a very natural thing for them to need that. But if they don't need it, or if that's something that you're wanting to work with, helping them go to sleep on their own, the more connection they've had during the day, but particularly in the patch of time before going to sleep, the more they're going to be able to carry that sense of connection in their bodies. The more they've internalized it, the more they feel the sense of connection. They can feel you with them. That they're going to feel that more if they've had that recently before sleep. And that's why for babies, they're really not able to internalize that. They need it. As they live in the moment, they're not able to go, oh, I used to remember the feeling of connection. They're like, I need it now. I need to be connected now because I live in the moment. You know, babies, the younger they are, they don't have a sense of time. It's just the eternal now. Jen, I really get it more now about it's their natural way to relax rather than rushing through it. It really helps, doesn't it? I just think even that reframe can help us, how we're thinking about it. Like, rather than like, oh, why are they doing this again? Or why are they taking so long? La, 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 la. I just want to go to sleep. The more we can recognize when they are using those natural relaxation mechanisms, the more we can cooperate with them, because we know, oh, okay, I cooperate with this. I join in, I meet them where they're at. I help them with this. The more that's going to work and the more easily they're going to be able to go to sleep. Raquel, not sure what's happening to my connection. We'll need to replay after live feed finishes. Thanks again, Marion. Oh, big hugs. That can be so frustrating, can't it? So, yes, so connection, so important. They're really signaling to the nervous system that there's connection. And again, I think this goes back to really our history as human beings, which would be in not so recent times in tribal cultures. If a baby or child was on their own, that wouldn't have been safe. You know, there's wild animals and different tribes and, you know, a lot of not so safe things. There weren't cots, there weren't front doors, there weren't things that you know, would keep other, anyway, you know what I mean. I'm not going to say more about that. So feeling relaxed is the next piece, and it's probably the most interesting part of it all, and we've gone into it already in the natural relaxation mechanisms piece. But as I was saying before, well, actually I wasn't saying this bit before, but what the feeling relaxed bit is often where we do most doing. This is where we get into doing mode. We think we need to do stuff to them to help them feel relaxed. And I want to say this, you know, there may be things in here that you still want to keep doing, and you may want to keep doing them all, and they absolutely can help in terms of like a general state of, you know, emotional state to feel more relaxed. These can be really helpful things, and they can also get in the way of their natural relaxation mechanism. If we're using them to override their own natural relaxation mechanism, that's often when things don't go so well. So I'm just going to write that as well. Love to hear how this is. These things, what did I just say? Can still be helpful, but they are most likely to be unhelpful if we are doing Rachel, listening puppy, yay! He's loving what you're talking about. Thank you, yay. I think often dads can really like this, and this is such a stereotype, so please forgive me if this isn't the way in your family, but just seems to be something that I've seen more commonly, which is often generally dads will feel more comfortable with kind of rough and tumble play, rambunctious play, kind of physical play. And I think I've seen many times, and again, it may be different in your family, for every family it may be different, but I think really starting to understand these deeper things and how that can be helpful can often be really nice for dads to hear that actually this kind of play is actually really helpful for children before bed, if they're, especially if they're inviting it. I mean, obviously if they're just about to go to sleep and they're already relaxed, I wouldn't be encouraging you to say, come on, let's get out of bed and let's go and do rambunctious play. But as I'm going to be talking about, it's really helpful to follow their lead. If they're already inviting that kind of play, or they're already in that kind of energy, then meeting that when with this kind of play can be so helpful in terms of helping them feel both really deeply connected, because it's that physical play, and also help them release, feel relaxed through all the laughing and the, yeah, you know, daddy, la, 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 all that stuff. Sean, our bloody dads have to really work hard to get into silly play mode, and David just does it naturally. I love it, but I wish I had it myself. Oh, I so hear you. It's so frustrating, can't it? And again, I think it's so much often our cultural beliefs about mums, you know, like we need to be really serious and la la la, put our needs last and all that stuff, which can also not be very conducive to being really silly and goofy and fun. But I really recommend, I also find, you know, the more we practice it, the more easy it is and the more fun it is. I really hear you. It can be really hard because often we didn't get that experience ourselves, and often we didn't get it from our mum, so we haven't had that modeled. So it can be quite a thing, can it, to get to learn, to relearn really how to do that. So some of the things, oh, I like the flower and the like and the face, love quite a lot of stuff. Oh, yummy. Some wows, some angries, yeah, lots of feelings there, I hear you. So some of the things we may do, some of the things, and as I say, there's no judgment here, and this isn't like you have to get rid of any of these. There's no have to's ever in any of my work, but it's just to notice that some of these things can work against, especially if you're doing them when your child is trying to do the other things. They can actually, do that. You get what I'm saying? So we might feed them, we might rock them, we might sing to them, we might take them in the car, we might push them in a stroller or a pushchair, we might read to them. If they're older, we might ask them to read them to themselves. You might give them a dummy or a pacifier. We might try and get them to lie down when they're actually still jumping around. You know, there are lots of things that we try to do often too, where we're doing the doing and we're trying to make them feel relaxed. Of course, as I say, some of them can be really lovely things, you know, having a lovely song in the background or gentle lighting, you know, away from screens, beautiful environment to go to sleep in. All those things can be really, really lovely. It's just remembering that if they're doing their relaxation mechanism and we're trying to stop that, it's often not going to work so well. Sean, is it true? And my inner loving mother is light-hearted and fun. Coincidence? Probably not. I love that, Sean. There you go. So, yeah, maybe you could just go, okay, I'm going to be my inner loving mother for a while, and I'm going to go and have lots of fun. You can just sit here. I'm going to go and just be fun and light-hearted, and yes, the washing up's there, and I'm not going to do it. I don't know. Love it. Thanks, Sean. So again, I'd love to invite you to connect in with yourself. You know those times when you are feeling upset or frustrated or just restless, you're agitated, and you're just like, I am going to go on Netflix, I'm going to have a glass of wine, a piece of chocolate cake, what else did I write? Scrolling Facebook or Instagram at night, all of these things. Has any of you done any of these ever, maybe? Chewing your nails, you know, whatever your own thing of choice may be. I can remember sometimes like just watch another thing or just read another chapter, or sure you can think of those times yourself. And sometimes that can be really nice, and sometimes it's meeting our needs, and sometimes it can kind of distract us enough or help us feel calmer enough. And sometimes if you found that you do this and once you're in bed you're like, oh, I don't really want to be here because gosh, I'm going to need to feel what's really going on with me, which I've been trying to distract myself from for the last 2 hours. You still feel agitated, you still got whatever's going on, it's still there. It's still there. Well, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're still thinking about it. And if so, why do you think that might be? My son's here having his screen time at the same time. Well, it's because all those things didn't really address the source, did they? When we're not really listening to what's really going on for us, we're distracting ourselves. The feelings are still there. The unprocessed thing is still there. Whatever we're not looking at is still there, and it's still affecting our body and our psyche and our mind, and it's just there, and it may be making it hard for us to go to sleep or waking us up in the night or wake us up early in the morning, because those things aren't really addressing the root cause. However fun Instagram can be and how much it can meet real needs, I'm really not in favor of judging any ways that we may use, but it often can mean we're not addressing what's really going on for us. And we're really just kind of bypassing what's going on for us. And the same can happen for babies and children. So we might be doing all these things to try and make them feel relaxed, but if we're not going with their relaxation mechanisms, it may be that they haven't quite processed that thing, they haven't shared that feeling, haven't released that feeling, they haven't expressed it. It's still there, sitting there in their bodies, and that's often the root cause of wakefulness and hardness to go to sleep. And again, I want to say there can be physiological things here, so it's always great to get that checked out. It can be reactions to food or to bedding or pajamas or whatever. Electromagnetic radiation, any of those kinds of things, they of course have an effect on our bodies and our relaxation. So if that's the case, what can we do? We can address these root causes, these three things. We can watch for their tiredness cues. We can help them feel connected, more connected. And we can cooperate with their natural relaxation mechanism. Sorry, just hey, sweetheart, what's going on? That's my lovely boy. No, there, that way. No, this way, it is this way. So we can do those three things. See if we can watch their tiredness cues, help them feel even more connected than they already are, and cooperate with their natural relaxation mechanisms. So let's go through them again. So watching for tiredness. So it can mean trying, seeing if you can not get them to go to sleep, not invite them to go to sleep if they're not tired. That can be really important, really honouring and listening to their bodies, their cues, really following their, what their body needs. And again, really remembering that differentiation. So not only watching their tiredness cues, but remembering that if they are crying or they're being silly or they're playing or doing all those things, that usually isn't just tiredness. It's that tiredness is helping those things happen, and they're actually using their natural relaxation mechanism, and so that they can feel naturally relaxed, so that they can go to sleep, which is what they want, which is what we want them to do too. Jack, welcome. We're nearly at the end now, but perhaps if this resonates, you might want to hop back to the beginning afterwards and listen to the beginning. So the first thing is watching for tiredness. The second one is helping them feel connected, or helping them feel more connected, because of course they're going to already feel connected with you, but more connected. So that's going to be during the day, but if you've been apart during the day, particularly, and anyway, even if you've been with them all day, it's particularly what happens soon before bed. Or that's not the accurate way of saying, but you know what I mean. Just before bed, cuddles, closeness, play, physical play. Again, not if they're already lying and they're already feeling really relaxed. I wouldn't be jumping up. But if they're inviting play, jumping in, doing rough and tumble play, twirling them around, just, doing anything that's kind of rough and tumbly, fun, physical, connected, body connected play. Children really thrive on that, don't they? Especially the younger they are. I'm sure you found that, when you really get in there, engage in that level, love it. They love it. Most of them, not all, most. Just so really body-based games can be the most helpful. So, so that they really feel that connection. So if you know about attachment play, that's also a really helpful time to do all different forms of attachment play, but particularly the body type of games. So of course, closeness, cuddles, they're also really helpful too, but it's to bear in mind if they're doing things like pinching, or they need to lie in one position, or they need you to hold their hand in a particular way, then other things can be going on then, which we probably won't go into today, but it's just being aware of observing how connected they seem to be when we're doing this. How much eye contact are they making? How much aliveness, presence do you feel in their body? That tells you how connected they are. And generally we can rely on our own body sense. So if you're feeling connected with them, it's liable that they're feeling connected with you. And then the next one is really cooperating with their natural relaxation mechanisms. So those basic ones are play with loving support. So again, this is about us joining in. So them playing on their own and doing jumping around, jumping on the bed, if you're happy to jumping on the trampoline, whatever it is, that's helping them release. But if you join in with them, and you, especially if you do power reversal games and you pretend to that they knock you over, or you be goofy and silly, that is going to magnify the release mechanism by 10, I don't know how by many, but by a lot. It makes a big difference. You being there, it's the connection and the relaxation mechanism. Yes, nearly finished, sweetheart. So it's you being there that really helps. Laughter with loving support, so any kinds of where they're already laughing, being silly, being goofy, coming in with a funny hat on, pretending, all kinds of attachment play you can do. So if they're reluctant to put pajamas on, just you come in and you put them on, but kind of you put the bottoms on your head and you're pretending to be a superhero. It's the opposite really of what we often learn in our culture. We need to be the serious parent, we need to get this done. But coming in and being silly and goofy and fun is, it can really transform the whole experience. And I'm going to share at the end, I've got a free attachment play intro course if you want to find more about attachment play. So you can use it for toothbrushing and pajama putting on and all kinds of cooperation things, bringing in play. Again, and if they're laughing, as long as you're not tickling them, laughing releases a whole lot of feelings that we talked about earlier in the live, and that's going to help them feel more relaxed in their bodies, which is going to help sleep be easier for them. Talking, particularly the older they get, with loving support, it tends to be less effective because it's less physiological, but absolutely if they want to tell you about their day and listening to that, it's going to be so lovely. I wonder how my connection is. Looking not so great. Hope you can still hear me. And crying with loving support. So if they're already crying, they're crying over something, then staying and listening to the feelings, listening to how, just staying there. I'm right here with you. I'm listening. And raging tantrums with loving support. So again, that I call tantrums as like therapy for kids. That's where they're releasing, expressing, offloading, sharing their feelings with us. That's part of their natural relaxation mechanism. Sian can hear you perfectly. Oh, phew, thank you. I always love to hear that. It's reassuring. Thank you. So you can follow your child's lead on any of these, and really noticing again, they all need our support for them to be most effective. So if they're jumping the bed, if the bed's not going to break, come jump on the bed with them, or go and invite them to jump on the trampoline with you, or whatever it is. If they're telling you about the day, obviously listen to them, clear. they're doing silly, goofy things, go and join in, be silly and goofy. It's so much more fun than trying to get them to be serious. And you'll probably find out, wow. If they're crying over some really small, apparently small thing, like the pajamas aren't the color they want or whatever it is, you can just stay and listen. Remember that often it's a pretext for some bigger feelings. So you can say, I'm here with you, I'm listening. I see that you're upset. I'm right here. I'm listening, sweetheart. Yeah, I'm right here. Oh, I really hear you. Really wanted the blue pajamas. And they're in the washing machine. You're really frustrated. I'm right here. I'm listening. Just being with their experience. The younger they are, the more body closeness they need when they're crying. So clearly, and obviously babies need to be held when they're crying. And really reminding yourself that as long as all their physical needs, all their needs are being met, emotional, physical needs, then crying is one of their natural release mechanisms, just as it is for adults. They're having a rage or a tantrum, you can just stay right there with them and listen. Yeah, I hear you. You're really frustrated. Yeah, I'm right here. I'm listening, sweetheart. I'm right here with you. If they're hitting or biting, you can set a loving limit, listen to their feelings. So I've got lots of info on loving limits. Again, you can see my free attachment play course. For loving limits, simply, I'm not going to let you do that, sweetheart. I'm right here. I'm listening. Yeah, I'm not going to let you hit me. There's no punishment, no shaming, no blaming, no distraction. It's just a limit and the love and just staying. And usually then the feelings will come out instead. If they're laughing and having fun, what often will happen is it will bubble up other feelings and they might suddenly get pinchy or hitty. And again, you can set a loving limit. I'm not going to let you do that, sweetheart. So often people say, they all end up in tears. Well, that's often how the psyche works. There's laughter, there's connection. It's just like us as adults. We're like, oh, I feel connected. Someone's listening. Someone's right here with me. I'm going to share some other really big stuff with them. I'm going to share about how upset I feel about this, that, and the other. That's what children do. So again, rather than going, oh, look, I've played with them, done all that, and now they're doing this. It's like, wow, I've played with them and I've done all this and that, and now they're offloading even more feelings, which means they're going to be able to sleep more easily now. So, and clearly if they're laughing and suddenly the laughter turns to tears, then stay and listen to the tears. I'm here, sweetheart. Yeah, I hear you. I see that you're upset. I'm right here with you, my darling. So the last piece is, how do you start implementing this if it's new, or also if you're already implementing this and you just want to up the implementing of it, because it's really remembering that even if you are listening to feelings, even you are doing that and they're still having these things around sleep, it generally just means there's more there. And often sleep will be the last place where feelings will keep showing up. So it's really helpful to remember that everything you're doing is making a difference. It just means there's more there. Sleep to me is kind of like, for babies and children, is where we can see the foundation of their psyche. We can actually see what's going on for them. And it's such a powerful thing. The things that we're talking about here not only help them feel more relaxed so that they can sleep, but it also affects every single other area of their life, and it affects their whole life. It's really profound, helping them feel more connected, listening to more of their feelings. They're fundamentally profound things to give to our children. Karen, welcome. So some of the suggestions I have is, number one, be gentle with yourself. So please don't have I recommend not shoulding yourself about this. And it's most helpful to resource yourself beforehand. So if your child generally invites a lot of play and silliness before bed, what can you do beforehand so that you can resource yourself? Can you make sure that you have a break, or you've had something to eat and drink, snack and your favorite cup of tea, that you've had some kind of your own present time, if you're familiar with my work, so that you are resourced first. It's really almost impossible to do these things if we're not resourced ourselves. Number two, nearly finished, sweetheart, is do it your own way. So play with it, make this your own, play around, play with things. I think often as parents we think, well, bedtime should look like this. You get to choose how it goes. You can play around, well, what happens if I do this before this? What happens if I drop the bath, or we do it in the morning, or we do this before that, or dinner before that, whatever. Just play with it. You get to play and be the experimenter and observe the impact on your child. That's, you get to play with that. And that's the next one. Number three, observe your child afterwards. So how is their sleep? How's their muscle tension? How's their eye contact? that's what I love about this work. It's really, you can see clearly, you can observe your child and see the effects in them. You can see relaxation, you can feel it in their bodies. You know, the child's agitated, you'll feel their muscles, and they're all it's hard to be still, but you can feel it in their muscles. And whereas when they're feeling relaxed, you can really feel that when you pick them up. You can feel the level of tension or relaxation in their bodies. Number 4, notice if they're more free now to share their more painful feelings with you. So you may find that then they start maybe crying more at other times or telling you more things at other times. That's natural. It's like us. You know, if you meet a new friend and they're really happy to listen to your feelings, you're going to tell them more. Yeah, I'm nearly ready, sweetheart. And next one. So number 5, if you're not resourced or you're tired or you just don't want to do it, of course you can use all those other strategies. They're all still there. It's just, you know, using these ones when you do have more resources, when you do feel more able to do this. So it's really listening to yourself, not shoulding, not pushing yourself, being as compassionate with yourself as you're being with your child. Michelle, how would you deal with a toddler hitting a baby? I get so bloody over it. You understand there may be other emotions for him. So I'm going to do another Facebook Live. So I'm going to start doing these regularly, and I think I might have it as hitting. So it's really remembering again, he doesn't want to hit his brother. He doesn't want to do it anymore. That when you get frustrated, you get over it, and maybe your tone changes a bit. You don't want to be like that. His true nature is love. It's painful feelings, basically. So loving limits is really helpful. Extra present time, power reversal games. Those are the 3. I know you're familiar with this work already. So I would be upping present time, setting loving limit. I'm not going to let you do that, sweetheart. I'm not going to let you hit him. I'm right here. I'm listening. He doesn't want to hit him. It's really remembering that he's in pain. He needs your help. That's the basic, but I'm going to do a longer one in more detail. That's helpful. And also big hugs to you, and seeing if you get some listening for whatever comes up for you, because often for us as well, especially if you had a sibling who hit you, or you're at school when you were bullied, you know, other children were harsh to you, or your parents, those feelings can come up for us, which can make it really hard to be compassionate when it's happening with our children. So yeah. So thank you so much for watching. Love to hear if you have any questions, come and share. I'm going to go off to another Facebook Live now. I do have some resources, so if you want some more, I've got a free intro course about sleep and aware parenting. My son's frustrated because I said I'd get off and I'm not. I have a paid course on sleep and aware parenting. I have a free attachment play course, and I have a paid attachment play course. So I'm going to share all the links. I'll share them here, and I'll also share them at the top of the Facebook Live. So I need to go now, but please come and share if you have questions or things you want to say about how it was. Michelle, thanks, Maya. Thank you, lovely. Thank you so much for coming and joining in. I really enjoyed it. Let me know if you have other things you want me to address. As I say, I'm going to be doing these regularly, so love to hear what you'd like. So lots of love to you. Sending you all so much compassion. Really want to remind you, self-compassion, being heard, most important thing as mums, so that we can give our children the compassion that they really want to. Sean, thank you, Marion. Oh, thanks, lovely. So glad that you're here. Lots of love. See you again another time. Bye. Actually, I'm just going to write my comments. I'm just going to put the resources there before I finish, because then that's going to be easier. Lots of love. Bye.